Warner here, and today I'm really excited because we're going to be talking about something that I'm calling a Stitchucation workshop. And if you've joined me over the past couple of weeks, I've been talking about the swatch because I got to be honest, it is my absolute favorite thing. I love to just take one stitch pattern and just mix it up, try different needle sizes, try a variety of different yarns, get really extreme and see what happens. And in this workshop, we're going to do that. But on top of that, we're going to actually learn how to plug and play a stitch pattern. And there's going to be 3 different stitches that we're going to play around with. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can certainly try your own. But we're going to learn how to plug and play and customize and make it our own. So you don't have to be a designer, but if you really have had the desire to create your own design, or I should say customize a pattern, you see a pattern that you really like, but you want to use a different yarn, or maybe you just want to shorten it, or if it's a sweater, you want to make it longer. If it's a cowl, you want to make it, a little bit deeper, things like that. And that's what we're going to learn in this 4-week workshop that officially starts next Friday, right here on Facebook, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So instead of my usual Power Pearls Unplugged Friday videos for January, it's dedicated to the workshop. And by the way, if you guys are members, if you're patrons of Power Pearls podcast, you get some specials. You get an extra extra worksheets. I just uploaded a fact sheet. This is it right here. So it's all about what's happening every week of the workshop. And I go into some additional detail, like what you'll need to do to get ready for each lesson. So that's it. And so I'm going to dive in to the value to really get into what it is that we're going to be talking about. And I'm going to go through this fact sheet, through the lesson plan, syllabus, if you will, so you can get a feel for what's going to be happening. Okay. But right now, I'm just going to start by introducing myself. So my name is Kara Warner, and I'm the host of Power Pearls podcast. And I jump on here every Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I usually talk about a variety of topics as they pertain to our yarn crafting lifestyle. If you're a knitter, if you're a crocheter, welcome. And those are the things that we talk about. And this is a supplement to Power Pearls podcast. So in these videos every Friday, it gives me a chance to talk about what's happening in between the episodes that I publish every 2 weeks, because you know what, a lot of stuff happens. So this is a great way to talk about those things, ask you guys questions, see what it is that what do you want to know about, what do you want to hear on the podcast, and what do you want to talk about in these videos. So that's pretty much it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to start talking about this lovely little plan of what's happening over the next 4 weeks. And I'm just going to, before I do flip around, I'm going to just share a little bit with you here what to expect. Now, you can get this, as I said, if you're a patron. So I'll mention this now, and I'll mention it again later at the end. If you go to patreon.com/Power Pearls podcast, you can get this lesson plan, plus the last few videos that I've done. You get the detailed show notes for every one of these videos, plus extras, plus you get the audio only recording so you can listen on the go. So maybe you didn't get to watch live, but you really don't feel like sitting in front of your phone or in front of the computer. You can just listen in your earbuds, go to the gym, walk the dog, driving in the car, whatever. So I personally love that, simply because I'm always busy. I know I'm not the only one that's busy that's watching, right? So if you guys are watching right now, anyone that's watching live, my gosh, I am like thrilled to pieces that you have taken time out of your busy day to join me. Okay, so let me just ask you guys too, if you are watching, please take a moment to share this video, because this is really valuable stuff that we're going to be digging into in just like a moment. And let your friends know. It's called a Stitchucation. I'll show you if you can see Stitchucation. Can you guys see that? Stitchucation workshop. And use that hashtag. Share with your friends. They can watch these videos. You don't have to sign up. You don't have to be a patron, but if you do, you just get some extra goodies. And every week. You get those worksheets, and that's really valuable stuff, I think. And really, it's only for $1. If you are at the dollar level, you get all this good stuff. Okay, so where are you guys watching from? I want you to go ahead and chime in if you haven't already done that, and let me know where you are watching from in this world while I take it around. We're going to flip it around a little bit, and then I'm going to show you what's going to happen in this 4-week series, and some of the things you're going to need to be ready for over the next few weeks. So let me do that. Of course, you know how it is with live video. So I am going to flip you around. Let's see if I can get this right, because I know I'm going to see like some crazy stuff in my room here. Last thing I want to do. Oh, there you got to see my my hallway. Ah, I can't flip you around. Oh my gosh. So there was the real life stuff. I meant to do this a little bit differently, but you know what? Like I said, that's live video for you guys. I'm always trying to be like super smooth and transitional, because you know, I know that in the past some of you have said, "Oh, I love your craft room. How exciting!" And I appreciate that. But you know what? You just got to see the crazy closet door, the closet open. I got some serious work to do over there, and that's part of my New Year's resolution, is to really clean up the situation. So Jana is here. Nice to see you. Christina is here from California. So I think what we're going to do is we're just going to get started. I'm going to talk about what it is that we're going to be doing in this awesome workshop. It's going to last for 4 weeks. So I'll just start by saying that, okay, so it is starting January 6th at 12 p.m. And for this first lesson, basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be really focusing on the swatch. So I have a very simple, very simple swatch here, and I showed you guys this a few weeks ago in one of my videos, or maybe I did in the last video and the one before that, because you know, this is sort of like the elementary approach. This is where we want to start everything that we're doing when it comes to any kind of designing, customization. We want to really know, especially if we're going to start working with a particular yarn, what the gauge is, you know, let's see if I wrote it on the other side, this one, which I did. And then I like to break it down to, after I know how many stitches are over 4 inches, then break it down to that inch, because that's how we learn to plot our patterns. So awesome. So what we're going to do in the first lesson is we're just going to spend time swatching. That's all we're going to do. We're just going to spend time swatching, not worrying too much about, oh my gosh, am I doing this right? What's the situation here with the stitch pattern? It's not making sense. Like, no, don't even worry about that. Just focus on having a good time and letting your needles do the talking, because what we're going to do is we're just going to test drive 3 patterns. So there's going to be 3 stitch patterns. Now, I thought maybe I would let you guys choose, and by all means you can, but I think that I will pick, make it structured so that I will pick 3 stitch patterns, and those are what we're going to use as our study, because basically it's a lesson. You know, this is a lesson. We're going to learn certain things about the behavior of the stitch pattern, get really extreme, you know, like use needles, like gigantic needles, you know, like the ones we have here, and then maybe, you know, go down to smaller needles, really fine needles. Just grab whatever you can and make it so that everything is really close by, so it's, you know, it's there to grab and just start working and just have fun. Because I know that some of you have said, oh my gosh, the idea of, you know, working a gauge swatch, I just want to get into my design, especially if there's something that you're interested in working on. Well, you know, I get it. If you have an idea, you know, you have something in mind, but this really opens the door to something even bigger, because the world becomes your oyster, because then when you understand that blueprint, then that's where you can take it, you know, you can take it to the next level. So for this first lesson, really, you're just going to only need like I said, the yarn, you're going to need some yarn, 3 to 4 balls of yarn. You'll need a variety of knitting needles. You'll need a knitting journal. And of course, you'll need an open mind. So I was thinking of coming over to the other side too, so you guys could see me. But yeah, I think I'm just going to make sure that you can see what's happening. There we go. All right, awesome. Okay. So we were talking about this stitch pattern, and so I just wanted to kind of show you a little bit of what I've done. I think I'm going to kind of do this. You can see me. I don't know. I'm using a rear-facing camera, so I know that I can't necessarily see what's happening on the other side, but I think that's what makes it exciting. So these are the same stitch patterns right here, and then this is just a really simple example of, you know, where you can take the one stitch pattern with you know, 2 different yarns, and maybe, you know, maybe a bigger needle size. I don't even know what needle size this was, and that was what was so exciting, because I wasn't worried about the you know, what it said in a pattern that I should use a certain needle size. It was just more of like me feeling really uninhibited and just saying, you know what, this yarn speaks to me, you know, these are the needles that speak to me, and then just go with it. And that's it. And then also in this first lesson, I want you to have a knitting journal. Now, I have my knitting notes right in front of me. It doesn't have to be like this, okay? It doesn't have to be this kind of journal, this kind of, you know, a knitting where, you know, you have your graph paper, you've got places to plot things. It doesn't have to be like this. It can just be like a journal, like a standardized journal that is pretty free form. But I know that I've shown this a lot. People seem to really love it. I don't know if it's still out there. It's called Knit Notes, but as you can see, I've really used it for so many different ideas and designs, and not just my own designs, but, you know, customizing, and also, you know, working on a design that, you know, that I love from other designers. So like, for example, this, and I made copies of it because I own the pattern, and this particular design, Nijo, which was, I think it was a design by Nora Gone, and I wanted to actually just make it in 2 different colors because I was just interested in doing that. And so something that's that simple, and that's when you understand stitch pattern and how you can plot out your multiple and so forth, that's when it starts to become really empowering, and you really can do whatever you really want to, whatever you want to do. And so that's it. And so I want it to be a very expressive experience for this first lesson, because I think that is where we can be a little bit more uninhibited and just, like I said, let the needles do the talking. And so let's see. I wanted to show you a few other things. So here are some other swatches that show you sort of like those differences of here's a worsted weight yarn and the same stitch pattern right here in a super bulky yarn. So you can see like the differences here, and those are the types of things that if we're willing to explore and then figure out, hey, all right, this gauge is a lot different than this gauge, and how will this translate itself into, say, a rectangular shawl or a cowl, or even a something more advanced, you know, where there's more shaping involved. And those are the things that we're going to be opening the door to understanding in this workshop. So on the 13th, then we're going to go into the blueprint. I call it the blueprint. So getting the gauge. So we you know, it's all about the swatches that tell the story. So in the gauge lesson, we're really going to take a look at, you know, what is it exactly that the swatch is telling you? How does it drape? You know, what comes next in the process? And you'll understand why actually understanding gauge and how to break that out, break that apart, you know, break out from 4, when it's over 4 stitches to the inch. Well, what about when it's down to 1 inch? What happens, and what do we do with that? And that's when we really start getting into the nitty gritty and plotting and creating that blueprint. And I call it a blueprint because that's exactly what it is. That this little, you know, this square right here tells you absolutely everything you need to know about a design that you want to make with it. So that, I think, is really a cool thing. So for lesson 2, you'll still need your journal. You're going to need your blocked swatches that you were playing with the week before. Then at this stage, you're going to need a calculator. You'll need pens, pencils, and I always keep like a ton of, like, look at all that. These are pens, pencils, gosh, whatever. This is so that I can be really creative and not just, I don't want it to be like a really kind of structured, rigid process. I want you to have fun. I want you to explore. I want you to create a little bit of art in the process too. I really do. And then, so that's week 2. And then week 3, it's about plug and play. Plug and play. So basically what you're going to need for this lesson is you'll need your journal. You'll need to pick the shape that you want. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide 2 basic shapes. And I took a little time thinking about this because I wasn't quite sure, like, how should I structure this? Because if it's going to be a 4-week workshop, and each time we do this, we're talking at least a half hour, but how can I make it so that every time you leave and every time there's a lesson that you have something very valuable that you can walk away with and use immediately? So what I decided was, for those of you who are just learning this process, and it's kind of like, you've never customized before, you've never really plotted those stitches, so it's like kind of some tricky new ground. So I decided that we'd start with a rectangular shawl. I'm sorry, yes, long rectangular shawl. And you can either plot one stitch pattern or multiple patterns and use kind of dividing stitches to kind of create a little bit of contrast. I mean, there's a lot that you can explore just in that one basic shape. And then what that means is you're worrying about this triangle, and there are no shaping elements, increasing, decreasing. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Or if you want to take it to another level, you can explore the triangular shawl. Now, I talked about this in the last lesson, so you can look at if you go to the video archives, last week's video, you can see that I was talking about, how do you take the triangular shawl and plug in a variety of different stitch patterns. So I showed you a few, and I'm going to put that down here. So here, okay, so you can kind of see this. I did something a little bit different here. You guys, can you see? This is like super bulky yarn here. And so this is a basic, the basic template that I use for my triangular shawls. And I have dissected this, and I've done so many different things and lots of different approaches to this. And so what I did with this is I almost made it like it's a poncho, like a cowl. And I just sewed the back. Do you see what I did? You see that? And that was it. I mean, I didn't make it in the round. I just made it like a typical triangular shawl, which this is one that this was first in Creative Knitting magazine. And it's just, I've worn this to death. So you guys can kind of see this. And I think I've showed this to you before. So maybe you can see this. We're kind of running out of real estate here on the table. Yeah, so that's the basic template, and that's something that you can take this basic shape with the center decreases, the central decreases here, and then there's yarn overs on either side of the shawl. There's yarn overs on each end to eventually create this shape, okay? And so for something like this shawl, this is where we cast on. Well, it's actually a slip knot, and then we knit into one stitch so that we create 3 stitches, and then it just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing. And that's that. So we get to play with shapes. We get to play with shapes. And then, yeah, let's just look. So we've go to extremes. Like here, like I said, play with the different yarns. Things that don't seem like they'd make sense together, just go to town, have some fun. So that's the 20th. So the 20th is to pick your shape and plug and play. And then on the 27th, so now you guys, there's going to be a private Facebook group for anyone that's taking part in this through Patreon. And basically, so if you are you're paying at the dollar level, the dollar per month level. As I said earlier, you get the detailed show notes, you get a lot of other goodies, and you get a private Facebook group. And that's where I want you guys to show and tell. We're going to communicate in there. And, just ask questions and think about, like, what's the next step? Where do you want to go? Where is it that you want to take this? Do you want to keep customizing, or maybe do you want to start heading into those designing waters? So that's it. So on the 27th, it's, you've explored all these possibilities. And so, what comes next? And so I want you to share your work. I want it to be like a real true Q&A. And so that's where I'll be in that group. So if you have questions, I will help answer them and help lead you in the right direction to just keep going on your yarn crafting journey. Maybe you want, like I said, you want to start designing, or you just want to keep customizing. So I'll help set you on that right path. So, I kind of went through all of this. I could keep talking and talking and talking, but I think, that's pretty much it. And I'm going to see if I can flip things around. I think if I do that the right way, I think I got it. I think you can see me now. Can you see me now? I hope so. So you guys, again, thank you for being, patient when I'm trying to work things out when it comes to how to position the camera and to kind of make the most of the live video setup. And so, like I said, go get this Patreon. Here, I'm gonna show you a little sign. So it's patreon.com Power Pearls Podcast. So $1 for this workshop plus extras, like I said, plus extras. And this all ends January 1st. And by the way, you guys, that's 3 days from now at 11:59, January 1st. So there you go. And I really hope that you'll take part. This will be a lot of fun. And Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And please share this with your friends. Stitchucation, use the hashtag Stitchucation. And I'll see you next week. Have that stuff ready. And I can't wait to get started with you guys. All right, take care.